I'm Linda Gilbert. I'm the District 3 Commissioner. I'd like to welcome you to our community meeting. Covers Scottsboro section, Langston, Dutton. That general area is the guts of it. Matthew Hodges is our chairman. Jason Venable is District 2, and Tim Duffy is District 1. And then Bob is our chief, he's our administrator. So we also have the sheriff with us tonight, Chuck Phillips, and Chief Deputy Rocky Harnan. Appreciate you guys coming out. And then Jonathan Campbell is the county engineer. Do we have any more folks of ours? Will feels like family. Will's here.
We got a couple employees, but I think they're here to let us know what they think.
Oh, okay. Well, that sounds good. But we appreciate y'all that did come out, and hopefully we'll start having these more often, more people start coming out.
Thank you. Real quickly, the process for a community meeting, we do this on the nights with our regular meeting. So tonight we do have a few items on the agenda to go over. Most of these items were discussed last week, so for meetings, usually we're pretty quick through things unless there are additional questions or anything that came up between the work session and the meeting this week. So the way that we handle our meetings normally, we'll have a work session one Monday and then the meeting following the next Monday. So this is a regular meeting of the County Commission. Next week we'll have another work session to discuss other items and so on and so forth. So just to give you a little bit of idea of how that process works. So we'll go through our meeting, should be fairly quickly this evening, and then we'll go into our community meeting portion. A couple things that we might talk about tonight, County Park, website, some of the water projects and things we've been doing. But really we're here for anybody that has questions about what we've got going on, criticisms, concerns, anything that you guys think about that we need to be thinking about and don't think about. Or maybe we can explain something as to why we've made a decision the way that we've made it. So that's what we're here for tonight. We do these meetings to come to the community so that it makes it easier for folks to see us and to know what the concerns are for areas or things going on in that community. So that's why we're here tonight. And I would like to thank also the mayor, Rick Ham back here. So thank you for having us in your community and thank you for joining us today. So with that, we will call the meeting to order and have our roll call.
District 1, Mr. Guffey. Present. District 2, Mr. Venable. Present. District 3, Ms. Gilbert.
Present.
District 4, Mr. Sis. And Chairman is present.
Okay, we do have a quorum present. We'll have our invocation by Mr. Rocky Harnan and our pledge by Ms. Gilbert.
Bow your heads. Father God, we thank you today for this beauty of this sunshiny day you've given us, Father. We thank you for the opportunity to live and work in such a beautiful place. Father, we ask your blessing upon each and every family that's represented here today, and especially, Father, for the chairman and the commissioners that are present and those public servants that are here to do the work of this county. Father, we pray that they have wisdom and strength and courage to do the right things for this county each and every day. And as always, Father, we ask you to bless each and every person that stands in danger, those military men and women that are on the front lines in harm's way. We ask blessing upon them. And we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the first item is approval of the agenda. We have 6 items on the agenda. Are there any changes before we proceed? We have a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Motion, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Okay, we have no award presentations. No one has signed up. No minutes from our previous meeting and no old business, so we'll move on to new business. And the first item is regarding approval for the hiring review board recommendation for a vacant HMT2 position. Again, discussed last week. Are there any other questions before we proceed? Do we have a motion to accept the recommendation?
Make a motion to accept the recommendation of the hiring board.
Motion, we have a second.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. Next item, motion to approve the hiring review board recommendation for the vacant HMT1 position. Again, this is discussed previously at the last work session. Any other discussion on this item? Have a motion to proceed.
I'll make the motion.
Motion, we have a second.
Second motion.
Okay, motion and a second. Okay, any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Okay, the next item is regarding the review board recommendation for vacant temporary labor position with Public Works. Any further discussion on this item? We have a motion to approve this recommendation.
Make that motion.
Motion, do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? I will ask, all of these, Mr. Campbell, have been made vacant due to, we've had promotions and have we had some folks leave us, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And retirements.
And when we have one person leave, it creates a chain effect, correct?
Yes, sir.
So that's where most of these positions have come open, is we've kind of, some folks have moved up into other positions. Okay, any other questions or comments?
That still leaves us short on our temporary employees.
One HMP1 still remains vacant, and one temporary labor remains vacant.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Okay, next item regarding a motion to approve the resurfacing project. As presented last week, we have three options before us. Two would be a regular plant mix process, and the third would be a what's the word I'm looking for?
Microsurfacing.
Microsurfacing placement. So I know we discussed this last week. Are there any other discussions or recommendations on how we want to proceed?
Make the recommendation, proceed with County Road 42, the paving project. It has a slightly higher score than 59, but 420 more vehicles a day on it. Recommendation.
Or any other thoughts on that? I think looking at the numbers, if you look at the cost per mile based on the number of vehicles per day, that's the biggest bang for our buck based on what we're looking at the anticipated cost on it. So, any other questions or comments? This is $80-20, is that correct?
That's correct, yes, sir.
And that's something we were looking at today, actually. As far as where we spend these dollars out of, I guess we need to clarify whether these dollars the matching dollars will come out of Fund 116, our capital improvement fund, or whether we'll charge that to 111, our public works fund. Do you have any thoughts on that?
16.
116. And it would be 20% of this amount roughly is what we anticipate?
Roughly. There'll be 14.3% indirect costs, which is basically administrative costs for Aldott to handle that project, and then 5% additional for E&I. That's a 19.3% total this is estimated bid price. So this estimated bid price plus that 19.3%, 20% of that figure.
Okay.
However, as we've seen with the latest project that let, we saw near a 30% reduction with this last project based on our estimate.
And any dollars that we don't use off this federal program goes into a fund, right?
We roll those over. That is our federal aid resurfacing project, our program. So, bridges or road resurfacing is eligible for those funds if it's major minor collector, basically. So that account, that balance rolls. So unused dollars, as you questioned there, would roll to next year to be utilized.
Losing money just again,
No, sir.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, can I just?
Yes.
Just keep in mind in the 116, that fund zeroed out last year, and that's the one we use for maintenance on all public buildings. I just want to make sure y'all were aware of that. And we get one disbursement per year to that fund. And that is one we are relying on to do all the repairs to the buildings and facilities.
can we reserve
Yeah, we
name
should.
and which fund it comes from? We still have to let the bid and.
We can. I think 116 would be able to handle it. It would consume this year's appropriation based on, I think, the other, or we have a little bit left, but we can discuss that further.
I just want to make sure that, that all of you are aware of it.
If we can, we'll place that on the work session, at least to get information based on 116 and where we're at. Okay, so we have a recommendation for 42, so we'll entertain a motion for that. motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Mr. Campbell, if you would, could you explain how these federal dollars work, how much we get per year and kind of how that process works? So we make a choice basically each year for one federal project. I'll let Mr. Campbell kind of explain how that works, where the dollars come from.
So part of our budget is the federal aid resurfacing. We call it federal aid resurfacing program because the majority of the work is done on resurfacing. But it's $533,000 from the federal government that we get, and that's funded through ALDOT. So we're essentially a sub-recipient of those dollars, and it's administered by ALDOT, which is Alabama Department of Transportation. So that typically equates to a 2 mile, in the range of a 2 mile project if we're talking resurfacing. And mostly if we have a major bridge that has to be replaced, then we're looking at saving a couple of years or more to have enough dollars to replace a bridge.
Thank you for that. A lot of, and I'll mention any asphalt roads we see in the county that are new asphalt roads or that we're repaving are done with these federal dollars. That's what we've been practicing in the past. We'll talk about A-Trip 2 in a minute and talk a little bit about that, but anytime you see that, any tar and gravel work that we do we're trying to do in-house now, but all of our asphalt projects that we do are done through federal dollars at this point.
That's a good point you made, Mr. Hodges. Unfortunately, there's only approximately 20% of our road network that's eligible to receive those funds. So it's major minor collectors. So if you picture a map of the county, there are only certain routes throughout the county that are eligible for those funds. And it was primarily the old farm to market routes. So it was the major roads or the heavily used roads that are out there. County Road 16, County Road 59 come to mind, County Road 43, Main Street. So just some examples. 47, College Road, some local examples for you to kind of understand the level of traffic and the maintenance level that those roads are kept to.
And you were talking about bids coming in under dollars. That's because of the recent competition in the market, or?
We suspect so. There's not enough evidence out there for us to change the way we estimate these projects, but there has been competition that's moved into Jackson County, whereas before there was essentially none. So a lot of that comes down to who's the closest when it comes to trucking and the large numbers that are involved with transporting the material. And so with recent purchases of the Hollywood Quarry and some of the new industry moving in, we've seen quite a large reduction in aggregate prices, for example. And then this was the latest that we've seen, where it was near 30% reduction in a resurfacing project that just let last month. So we're hopeful that with the influx of competition, we can start benefiting from that.
Anything else? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve 42 for the federal dollars for 2017. And one more thing, that when we actually expect the project to start will be next year, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, motion and second. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, say no. Okay, next item is regarding the purchase of trucks for Public Works. This has been part of the program to try to get our fleet where it needs to be. We've got several vehicles that are out for or going towards auction. Could you give us a quick update on that before you proceed?
Yes, sir. So this is our final stage. It's basically what we've approved and decided to move forward to, as you all recall, from the surplus equipment that we declared surplus and purged. And then the B portion of that was the purchase of the other trucks. So we've approved the cab and chassis trucks, we've approved the dumps, and these are the final two pickups that complete that package. And so we sent out, the plan was to send out and solicit bids and then compare that to the state bid prices. So 9 bid packets were sent out, solicited to local vendors and semi-local vendors, I guess you would say. We received 5 packets back, and then we compared that with the state bid price, and you should have a tabulation sheet in your package from that bid opening that occurred June 6, 2017.
Questions, comments? We need to choose, is our choice, is the state bid on? Yes, okay. The last item is the state contract, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you have a recommendation on how to proceed?
Looking at the prices, the state contract was well below the other bids. I would prefer local purchase, and the 3% allowance that we typically have, even with Act 2015-293, which would allow the commission, if you choose to bump it up to 5%, we're still not within the price of the low bid on the state contract. So my recommendation is as we choose the state contract for that price.
Okay. Questions or comments? And you have a motion to approve, or how to approve? Well, I guess we'd have to go with the lowest bidder would be to approve the state contract, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the state contract for this item?
I'll make that motion.
Motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. Okay, next item is regarding amending courthouse security organizational chart. The sheriff has requested that we shift the organization with the courthouse security. Currently, we have a contract in place, or we hire contractors to fill a position. The sheriff would like to be able to fill that position with an employee, as opposed to the contracting that we're doing now. Is that correct?
Yes.
So I think all of you are a little bit aware of that, but any questions or comments on that? What this would do, I think if you pull from within, then that would open up a position for you. The cost would not be substantially more because we would be ending the contractor service that's provided right now. And because that's done through, we call folks daily, basically, or weekly, I guess, to fill that contract position. Correct. So there's no position that's lost in that. It saves us dollars from cutting that contract position, but there's no actual full-time person filling it.
Most of them we contract with are off-duty police
Right.
officers and other municipalities and stuff.
That's right.
Would mean they lose them a full-time job.
Right. That's what I'm trying to say. So questions or comments on that? And it still allows us flexibility if there's a need for someone, which I think each Friday we have to have somebody in there from a contractor, but if there's a need, we can still bring folks if necessary. So questions or comments? You have anything, Sheriff?
No, what caused this is one of my deputies got a medical issue that he cannot drive. I'm not going to allow him to drive in a county vehicle. So he will be getting for the next 3 months anyway, somebody's going to be bringing him back and forth to work. And I'm just never going to let him drive again because of his medical issues. And so I don't have a place for him. I hate to see him lose his job. So we could put him there and he'll be okay.
And as Jason said, that's going to prevent someone from losing their
Right.
job. Because the other person's not getting cut from the full-time job.
Right. We'll actually get to hire another person in his place if y'all put him in the courthouse budget.
How many people do you have in that pool that you draw from
Put him-
the temporary contract?
Oh, contractors?
15, 20
Gosh, probably 8 or 10 maybe. Is that that many? Probably so.
You don't think there's any chance of losing interest from them?
Well, they're going, every Friday, we're still going to have somebody. So they'll be able to do that. And like I say, all of them, they're either retired or they're either full-time employees somewhere else. And when one of these three is sick or on vacation, we still have to call somebody in to.
That was my only concern, is, we have a small pool of people, and then we lost some of them because they didn't get a lot of hours, and they got uninterested in being on that call.
I think we'll be fine. I mean, if we can't find somebody on a
Today, we have to pull them off the road. Let them, like, usually they'll come down during lunch. They don't have to sit there all day. Just let the other two go to lunch.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, do we have a motion to approve the change, which would again replace the contract position with a full-time position? Motion, we have a second.
I'll second.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Okay, that concludes the items on our agenda for this evening. So with that, we'll move into our community meeting portion. And a couple things I'll talk about real quickly, and then we'll open it up to any questions or comments, or I'll say criticisms. Don't be too hard on us, please. A couple things that we've got a lot going on, constantly a lot going on, and sometimes it's difficult to kind of grasp everything that we do. As again, the employees here will tell you, there's always something, and we're constantly working to try to make things better and improve and come up with different ways of doing things. A couple of big projects that we've had going on. One, as I mentioned earlier, I think it was last year we did our first tar and gravel road. Is that correct? Or has it been 2 years now?
It's been some years since we've done it in-house, but for the past years we scraped together one project and we're able to do one more after that.
And what we do see a savings when we try to do the projects ourselves. I think we've got a great crew of folks out there. It's a little bit demanding on the folks due to the number of staff that we have out there, but that's something that Public Works has been doing to try to make a difference as far as the where those dollars are spent. There have been a lot of things that have been done at Public Works to reduce the cost of what they're doing so that they can focus those efforts elsewhere. So we appreciate Mr. Campbell, our engineer, and all the Public Works employees, because obviously it couldn't be done without them. But those changes, I think, are paying off, and hopefully what we see from that is maybe a little bit more paving. In the past 2 years, we've done just about none. But hopefully we can see a little bit of paving going on. Now, it's nowhere near what we need to get done, and I'll talk about A-Trip 2 in a minute. But I'd like to say that there are improvements going on there to try to be more efficient with the dollars that we do have. That's something that I feel like we've done in every department throughout the county. Everybody's had changes made over the past several years to try to reduce the cost or the dollars that we're putting into the projects and into maintaining, I guess, the system. So everybody should be commended on that. The County Park project, a lot of folks are familiar with the cabins that we're building out at County Park. The purpose of that, it's twofold. One is to enhance recreation in Jackson County, enhance recreation on our lake, enhance the visitors visiting Jackson County Park, and also, and we are hoping that will help draw a few extra dollars to both our park system and maybe ultimately the general fund. The park cabins just started renting, it's been, May 1st? Is that right? May 1st. We've had a pretty good response so far. Obviously, we've got some time to pay those back, but once those have been paid back, we see that as a great revenue source, again, for our park system. So whether that's additional cabins in the future or additional things we can do with recreation in Jackson County, we are an outdoor community. We have all those assets in Jackson County. We need to take advantage of them. So this is a start. It's a long-term plan and something that we hope folks will carry forward. But this is a good thing to start the process in moving Jackson County forward in that sense, providing more resources for our Parks Department, and hopefully, like I said, providing additional resources for our general fund as we go down the way, if those projects are successful. In addition to that, in addition to the cabins, we've upgraded our playground. We've got a restaurant coming down there, boat rentals and tackle store. A lot of things going on at County Park to help draw folks into Jackson County and to allow for more opportunities for folks that live in Jackson County to enjoy the recreation that we have. So we're really proud of all the things that are going out there as well. You may have heard a lot about the water projects that's been going on in Jackson County. We've been putting a lot of public water in places. The most recent project is Wanville. We hope to continue that project in the future. Those are being done through ADECA grants. Those are federal dollars that come down to the state, and we've been very blessed. I think, did Section receive, or you didn't receive any of those this last round? But there have been several of those dollars that have been received by Jackson County communities, and we've been very blessed to receive those. So when you again, this past 2 years, you've probably seen a lot of times where we spent some dollars. The dollars that we do have in cash, we've tried to focus it on things that encourage economic and community development, and water projects or public water is one big one that we've tried to support. And the last thing I think I've got is A-Trip 2. Now, how many of you are familiar with A-Trip or A-Trip 2? Anybody? This is something, if you followed the state legislature this last year, there's a constant need as we're talking about roads, and I think everybody in here can agree that our roads could use some work. There's a lot that can be done to our roadways. We don't have the resources to get to them and do the things that we need to really put our roadways where they need to be. So A-Trip 2 was a proposal by the Jackson County, or the County Association, Alabama County Association, to try to bring more dollars into our public works departments to do more paving with. It was a gas tax that was requested to be put on, I think, was it 4 cents to begin with? And it would increase by 2, perhaps a little bit later. It did make it through the legislature this time. I think it got killed there in the final days. But the reason I want to still talk about this is because it's still incredibly important to us as far as where we're headed for the future of Jackson County on our roadways. Roadways are some of the biggest, that really is the biggest piece of infrastructure that we as a county have to deal with, and a lot of your cities have to deal with. They're expensive to maintain, they're expensive to pave, so it's very difficult to do that without necessarily having the resources that you need. What A-Trip 2 would have done would have been given dollars to both cities and the county to do a little bit additional road work. Again, it wouldn't have fixed the problem that we have. We've got just under 1,100 miles of roadway to repave, and we calculated that out. It would help us over the next several years. There'd still need to be a permanent fix in place, but it'd definitely be an improvement over what we have. So the reason I mentioned this tonight is because it is a solution that we need to continue to pursue. I hope that if you see the need for funding for our roads, that you contact your legislatures and let them know that, because those are the folks that need to know. It's going to be up to our state legislature to make a change that allows us to do anything further or beyond what we're already doing. I mentioned a couple of things that we're doing to try to reduce costs, but ultimately, if we want to see our roads get to the shape that they need to be, something's going to have to come from the state level to make that happen. So that's something that I feel is very important. I think the commission agrees with me on that. You can nod your head no if you don't. But
while you're on that subject, though, Mr. Campbell, for those people that are just joining us this time, tell them the cost of repaving, kind of give them a general idea of what we're up against per mile.
Yeah, we're in the 250 to 350 range. That's prior to the reduction that I mentioned on this last bid, but you're looking at probably a tenth of that tar and gravel. But the challenge is what we face as a county, and it's the state's facing the same crunch, and it's nationwide. Since the Transportation Act of '57, that's what started this ball rolling, and that's what built this nation's infrastructure. So, just like a lot of the nation, Jackson County's major part of its inventory was built in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Bridges only last 50 years, and roadways, all that stuff was paved, and since the early 90s, we've basically been in a state of regression. It's been gradual, and now a lot of this is coming to a head and it's accelerated. But a lot of the things that are out there are just unseen to the motorist, because if you make it across that bridge, you don't think much about it. But you see those potholes, and you see the terrible roads. And so, a lot of money's been spent, believe it or not, to keep up what's out there and to give the level of service that is out there, even though it may not be what it needs to be or what we would all like for it to be. However, there are a lot of bridges. There's over 60 bridges in this county that are built in the 1930s. So, just to, I hate to be the face of the crumbling infrastructure that we all own, but it's just the reality that we're at that time to where it's time to rebuild the nation. And like we all know here, the roads and bridges, that's the source to so much, particularly good economy. And so, we want industry and we want good jobs and we want these things. And a good roadway and network system is critical to having all that.
Roads and water.
Thanks, Jim. Anything else to add to any of that? You guys can think of?
Not mentioning that their gas taxes, how they're flat, how we're basically getting about the same amount that we were getting, 15 years ago, so those are not increasing. You might touch on that a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah, you're 100% right. There's been federal mandates that cars be made more fuel efficient. And if we look at the last time gas tax was increased was 1992. So since 1992, you take the construction cost, how that has exponentially increased, fuel efficiency has increased, and the gas tax that's been received by counties and state has basically remained flat since the early 90s. So particularly after 2008, if you think about the cost of fuel and how gasoline did, well, everything that's in a roadway surface is a bituminous product. So you can imagine how those costs, it was just like you at the gas pump getting fuel whenever we wanted to resurface a roadway and buy asphalt product that has petroleum in it. So.
We have roughly 30 miles of unpaved road, and we've lost about 10 miles, which puts us about 40 miles of unpaved road now. So we lost 1% of our hard surfaces in the last calendar year, and that's going to grow. We're going at the rate that the pavement is not being replenished, we're going to start seeing 2% and 3% and 5% a year having to go back and taking that hard surface.
Yeah, that's a good point. What Mr. Venable's referring to is right now if we go out and we receive calls from the public about our road is horrible, and we get out there and it's not something we can patch, and it's not something we could do a large patch and return the road to service. If there's more bad than good, then right now our mode of response is we plow it up basically. So without the dollars budgeted to resurface, if there's more bad than good, it goes to dirt instead of being repaved. And there's been a handful of roads that they're not in the budget to repave, and the local roads they're referring to that we are going to chip seal, basically tar and gravel ourselves in-house. It is a local road, but we're looking for a semi-major local road. So it's a through road, or maybe it's a dead end, but it serves a lot of houses. So just the roads you've seen probably out there that looks like it just goes to one house or two houses, when those roads get beyond repair, they go back to dirt. And I will say, the ones we have returned to soil, aggregate, or dirt, it was so bad before we did it. They're happy with what they have as a dirt road. So that there is regression going on.
Another point that's made, I know that we've talked about this plenty before, so I'm just going to touch on it real quick as mentioned, a point that needs to be made. We did pursue sales tax. That was an effort at the time to help put more dollars towards paving. We plan to put roughly half of those dollars towards sales tax towards that. So that obviously did not pass. The county, and I need to clarify, county gets 0 cents of sales tax. So when you shop at the Dollar General up here or Foodland, we're not getting any of those dollars. So the only thing that funds roadways right now is the current gas tax in place. And as it was mentioned, that has been flat as far as what our receipts have been on that. So that's why we are in a difficult situation, and we've been talking about A-Trip 2, and we talked about sales tax, and whatever else we'll talk about in order to see some additional dollars go towards these roads, because it has been very difficult to maintain.
Mr. Campbell, then you do some math and by ALDOT standards and their recommendation of our inventory, shouldn't we spend close to $9 million a year to maintain the road surfaces that we have?
Yes, sir. That was
slightly over $3 million.
Yeah, it was. That was basically resurfacing, if I recall right, and that didn't include the bridge work.
But that's just to touch on it and let you know that that's why we're looking for a way to bring in funds somehow, some way.
Anything further on that? That's one last thing that I'll mention. We are working on a county website. I think that's important when we're talking about our view to our neighbors and the folks outside of Jackson County, and when we bring those folks in, whether that's industry, whether that's tourism or business or whatever the case may be, we want to present a good face for ourselves. So back in the first of the year, the commission approved to get a website developed. We're hoping that'll be done by around September, October. We want it to be kind of a central place for folks to come to where they can find any needs that they have, whether that's the Chamber of Commerce, again, the Economic Development Authority, education, our municipalities, whatever you need to find your way to, we hope that that could be the source for that. And we think that's going to present ourselves better on the online, the way that we want to present ourselves as well, just in our communities. So we're very proud of what that's going to provide for us, and we're looking forward to that as well. So with that, that concludes the things that I've had. If none of the commissioners have anything else, we'll open it up to questions. Yes?
Right before you open it up for the community stuff, can I just give y'all an update on everything that's going on?
Yes, absolutely, yes.
Give you a section update and then once it's okay. Everybody knows our Weatherston Park up here, the scenic park up here. You probably noticed when you come up, we got it closed down. We got a grant to redo the walking trail up there. So what they're going to do, the old gravel trail, if any of y'all ever go up there and look at the gravel trail, they're going to 10 foot wide do a 4-inch base of gravel all the way around it, and then 8 foot wide do a asphalt trail. And then every so many, I believe it's about 7 locations around there, 8. They're going to also asphalt a little area back, and we're going to put a real nice park bench. We're making it really nice, and going to have an entrance for some parking down on the front part close to Highway 35, and that's just going to work in with some future plans we got. Just come to a $35,000 grant, and we got to pay the rest of it. Above that, I think it was, what was it, down there, like 62,000? 73,000. I guess I was hoping for 62 or something. But anyway, bid come out quite a bit higher than we thought is normal. And a lot of times on these grants, when you like Jonathan can say, you can estimate what it's going to cost, but when it takes 1.5 to 2 years before you get to the bidding process, everything's gone up and it costs more. Anyway, it's going to be nice. We got some future plans for get some parking area, some bathrooms, and a pavilion. We've already having some weddings going on up there right now. Everybody just got to do them at their own risk. If they're having a wedding and Joe Blow wants to join up and sit up there with them, they can. But we want to get where it can be controlled and everything, But anyway, you would not believe if y'all got in the evenings, especially in the spring and the fall when the sunsets are so pretty, you can go out there in those cars and you'll see tags from all over the place. I've stopped and talked to some people. The people drive from long ways sometimes to take pictures and everything and sit out there. So.
I think we stole a photo for our website from up there. So.
If you notice there are signs that we got around about this section, this is progress, that's where that photo comes from. And matter of fact, Channel 19 is showing interest in putting a camera up there for their news shots, but they got 2 ahead of us, and then they got a budget situation, but it's in its hopes to be done and everything. Something that's about to go on through town, Tamanville Drive, Highway 35. The state has bought what?
No, I just heard my name, so I turned around.
The state, has bought up a lot of stuff for the road, and there's nothing looks any worse in a town than an abandoned gas station and stuff like that. So they bought the dairy bar and they bought the old pharmacy building and tore them down, but they were starting to buy them. So I think it was back in December, wasn't it, Vandale? We met with Curtis Benson, with the state highway. Mr. Cooper gave me his name, that from down at Langston, that works for the Alabama. And he come up and went around with us, and the old gas station, several of the old house places that's in the trees and everything. If you see a building down through there that's got a big orange, reddish colored number on it, next month that's all supposed to be torn down. The state done a bid on it and lit it, and got a letter from them the other day, and that's all supposed to be torn down and cleaned up next month. So at least what they buying up for the road, if it ever gets done, they are going to clean it up and instead of it just looking like abandoned buildings and everything for us. So, Labor Day, it's already in the process. This will be our 44th, I believe it is. Is that right? 44th, Teresa?
I think so.
44th. Labor Day, I'm sure y'all know that the Henniger Mule Day is no longer. So they're really kind of beefed it up and had it bigger and better this year. And last year, it really got improved a lot. And we got some really good people working on it. Our sewer system is in the process. I know y'all heard a little about that.
Yes, sir.
We just didn't happen to be out there at the same time. But anyway, it's going a whole lot better than it did on the beginning. But throughout town, that was a 600-day contract, and when that gets completed, I guess around 90% of our city limits will have city sewer availability. We did, the prior mayor and council applied, and then it was approved after we got in, and we did get I forget how much that one was, a grant. It was $200-something thousand, I think it was. It had to go through the town with the CDBG because you can only do it through the municipality, but it'll be done through the water board. And got that. So everybody in town, as long as they accept it when it comes through, they get to be hooked up free. Now, if you don't accept it now and you choose 3 years from now you want on it, then it's up to you. But there's a lot of EPA regulations and stuff like that. It's pretty expensive. You have to have your septic tank collapse. And there's things that has to be done a certain way. So we were really glad to get that, and that's in the process. Nobody's been hooked on this second phase yet, but they're in the process. They're trying to get everything done on the north side of Highway 35 first, because that's where we have the most people that's having a lot of septic tank trouble and just kind of waiting on it. And then they're going to get on the other side of Highway 35 and finish it up. Talking about roads a while ago, you know, if I understood right, back when County Road 43 from here all the way to the county line at DeKalb County, through, going through Macedonia now, it was all paved with federal funds. And the reason it was paved is because it was considered the highest traveled road in Jackson County. I think that was covered. But every morning, everybody from that direction comes this way that's going off the Mountain Scottsboro. Everybody from Rainsville area, everybody from Dutton area, from four-way stop this way. If you pass the four-way stop, they're probably shoot down Highway 40. But you know what? Would not believe the traffic that goes through this red light every morning. I would say there's 5,000 to 7,000 cars that goes through. The biggest thing that people are talking to me about since I become mayor that they would like to see here is a fast food restaurant. Talk to Jack's, talk to Hardee's. Hardy says they look for 7,500 vehicles a day to come through, and they don't want to be within 13 miles of another one. So we are within 13 miles of y'all, in Scottsboro, we're within 13 miles of Rainsville. I don't understand that. It looks to me if you can do a good business, it wouldn't matter if you're just 2 miles away, as long as you're doing the business. And then Jack's, they both say they're watching us, but we're just not quite ready yet. I don't know if y'all ever talked to these people about, since it's a county, it's not just a city, anything y'all can do to talk it up for us. I mean, the people here really want it. Just like up here at our municipal complex, we hosted the All-Star tournament for the league. There was probably, all day long, there was 200 or 300 cars parked in that parking lot. Tents set up everywhere. We have some local people here in restaurants, but there's be a lot of weekend business for something too if it comes through. And then the one thing I could really ask, if y'all could help on this, if you ever speaking with state stuff, and is the Highway 35 situation. Talked to Steve Livingston when he first came on, and and he did tell me that he got it put back on the table down there about, everything from the red light on down the mountain is still to be finished. It started out at 2016, then 2018, then 2020, now they're saying 2021. But he did get it put back on the table for just from the red light on to the end of the city limits before you start off the mountain, but possibly. He said putting it on the table means it's to be discussed. Now then, to pass it, it's got to be funded. We would love it if we could just get the rest of our road here in town finished. We would look so much better, we could do so much better. Y'all seen our new businesses that was built down here? I guess y'all noticed it, the Triple T Market, and then the new stores that was built there that just opened, and the convenience store will be opening this Friday, the 16th. But if you notice out in front, where all the pay work and everything, and all that area out there, where you got gravel up there, it's because that's where your state right of way comes from. You know, we're having to do things a special way, that's an ugly way, and we would really like to, if y'all could word anything with the right people to help us on, just, if we could get the top of the mountain, if they do going down the mountain 5 or 6 years from now, we'd be happy with getting the top of the mountain.
Have they talked to you about, the issues with that project, or what they, problems they've had or anything? Are you familiar with that?
They've already bought quite a bit of property on the bluff up there,
Right.
and they've condemned some too.
Yeah, the matter of fact, those houses that's supposed to be torn down, there's even one. Did you notice the one on Scenic Drive going back and forth right now? It's the second house on the left when you turn on y'all's road.
No, there is no one, nothing then torn down now.
But I mean, there's a big number on the front of it. They're gonna tear it down.
Oh, okay.
It's supposed to be torn down. That's been like you said up on the bluff. But I saw one of those vehicles up in the kudzu, right there at Goodman's Hollow, the house that sits up there. And I saw one of the state vehicles up there, and I started to stop, but I didn't want to crawl through all that.
Mr. Hamback, the 5-year plan, if I'm not mistaken, it included the capacity project down the mountain, the additional lanes, and it was north of 30 million, what the estimate they had.
But that don't mean they'll do it.
It was 2021, I believe, like you
Yeah,
said.
that started 2016.
Right.
2016, 2018, 2020, now 2021. So we would like to push it to the city limits section, and then let's do the rest when we can, if we could. So y'all could help us on that, and y'all talking to them, that'd be great. I really believe if that road could get finished through our town, and it could look that way, the way it looks this direction, places like Fast Food places and stuff like that, they would show a lot more interest, because it is major traffic comes through here in the morning and the evenings and everything. You try to pull out one side road from that direction, right now, you may sit there 2 or 3 minutes before you can get out.
That's school, northeast, I guess, draws you a lot of traffic from Valley. One thing, and we can talk more about it later, is the chamber. I don't know if you're familiar with what the chamber's doing on the retail development side. That's something that the town can get involved with, and they, use their resources to help draw some folks. I can't remember the name of the company they've hired, but if you've not talked to
Yeah,
them.
they come up about 3 council meetings ago,
Okay,
and
good.
done a big long presentation with us, and their 5-year plan that they've got, and they're looking everything wrong. It was about 6 weeks ago, we went through that.
Yeah, I think that can be very helpful. It's going to be helpful for a lot of our communities that don't necessarily have something like that, or don't have a whole, which I'm guessing Foodland's a pretty good retail establishment for you, right?
Yep, that's our #1 tax bringer.
So, but it'd be good to build on that, I know.
Yeah, absolutely.
County Road 43, I'll just add one thing. County Road 43, you mentioned, we were able to do 35 all the way to the county line. That was actually an A-Trip 1, so you've heard Mr. Hodges refer to A-Trip 2. Otherwise, it and 6 other projects, those wouldn't have been possible without A-Trip. So that was right at this past administration's, at the beginning of their term when they passed that. And in 2013, that ADT, Mr. Hamback, was 1,721 cars a day. 1721 in 2013.
What was the count took at? Was it on 20?
I'm assuming it was close to the 35 in. I'm assuming that would be the higher ADT, but
Yeah, that's major difference than that now. I mean, are you talking about just on 43?
just on 43.
Okay, you're not talking about totally coming to the red light. Can you call the state highway department and get them to do a car vehicle too?
Is that something
It's probably posted on their website. They update those pretty frequently. I can navigate you.
Okay.
to it.
anything else, Dave?
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much for the update. Help us understand more what you guys got going on. Okay, any questions, comments?